Okay, the extra 300L. So started work on it. It's a nice little kit. You realise you are dealing with a truly dinky little sports plane here. This is significantly smaller than practically any Second World War fighter you're liable to build. This is an aircraft with, as aerobatic types are, it's about getting up there and throwing it around the sky. So it's small with a relatively large wing area, full width, nearly full length ailerons, just a very light aircraft optimized for flight. Now the kit itself, first thing of note is the propeller location. Now there is a piece that goes in that's full width here. Fitting that is an absolute joke, so I replaced it with a couple of bits of plastic tube and then painted the area behind it black, because you really want to get this look through appearance. Now getting it centered is a bit tricky, so I may have to file it out to one side. I just think that the part that comes with it is its location, its fitting, and everything about it is purely fictional. And then you will clearly close off this gap here, which you don't want to. You know, you've got cylinders behind there, an engine behind there. So you need to have the sense of looking past the prop. So as I say, I've replaced with this 2 bits of plastic tube. Centering it is maybe a little bit tricky, and I might have to make some adjustments concerning that, because the prop is now ever so slightly off center, so probably need to file it a little bit on that side. Cockpit floor, basic enough, but because it's a big canopy on this, you will need to put in a bit of filler. Here there's a bit of noticeable sink mark on the forward bulkhead, so that does need filling. Seats with the control columns combined. Cleaning them up is a little bit tricky. You're going to get sprue tags on there, so you need to take a little bit of time to clean that lot up. Instrument panel, something that I think will really, the way to paint this is going to be grey and then a dark wash and then wipe it off, because you can easily, nice recessed instruments, so they will certainly take her dark wash very well. Quite happy with the way they're approaching that. The prop, the spinner is quite frankly an appalling fit, and you will have to drill this out, file it out to get this to sit anywhere near correctly. And I still, looking at it, I still think I'm a little bit skewed. I may end up popping this off and having another go, but that, to get this to sit in any correct way on the front face with a prop in there is exceedingly difficult. So that definitely needs some work. Even in this state, it needs a bit of fill out. I can see I'm actually a little bit skewed on this, so I'm going to have to rework it or do something. Not happy with that at all. I think when a kit has really blatant fit issues, you work through it, but the kit, for such a small kit, it's got very subtle fit issues. The things aren't obvious on this one, but they're there, and I think I'd almost say it's an aircraft. It looks small and innocuous, but there is potential in this kit to really bite you on the bum. So having fun with it, maybe going a little bit slower than I should be. I say that on so many of my projects lately. Still reasonably happy with it. That's where we are. First update. Right, progress on the extra 300L 330 LS. This is, as you can see, a pretty diminutive aircraft. But you are faced with one of these situations where I find myself looking at an awful lot of fit issues in a relatively small airframe. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's something to be expected with Brengun kits. The moulding is nice on them, don't get me wrong. The quality is good, and when you're doing your test fits, they always seem to be not too bad. But I think they are something to be watched out for. Now, first things first, I thought I was having issues with the fit of the cockpit, especially the floor. Did a lot of paring back, and I was still left with a gap. And this is actually a piece of plastic card. This isn't filler, this is actual plastic card. So I had to put in a long shim strip and then sandwich it with Tamiya extra thin and then cut it back. Other areas I filled with super glue. Good long seam of super glue here across the nose. I'm going to need to do quite a bit of rescribing here, and after I even do a little bit more sanding back. Seat belts from Tamiya tape. It may be worthwhile with this kit and getting the photo etch set just to dress up the cockpit a little bit, because quite a lot can be seen. The canopy needs quite a lot of, well, progressive sanding, I think is the best way to describe it, but you do have fit issues here at the back, and that's going to need a little bit of filler there. And the thing is, it's a small aircraft with a big canopy, and you can see an awful lot inside here. I've got to remember to put in a couple of other structural members. Now, the instructions show the cockpit to be entirely grey. Look at your reference photos, and you'll see that the structural elements on the fuselage side, it looks almost like a monocoque structure, are actually white, and the cross beams that are going to go in there and there are white as well. It's a slightly odd arrangement on this. You've got like the passenger sitting in the front, and you've got the pilot sitting in the back. So the main instrument panel is there at the back rather than at the front, and there's meant to be a tiny one that goes in there. I'm going to have to pop that in soon. Fit of the wings feels a bit vague, but you do have to take your time over it, and it does get sorted out. I think I'm about 1 or 2 degrees off square as well. So they are tricky. Getting the location is not easy on these. So it needs a little bit of fiddling about with. You don't need to do any sanding or rework. I think maybe an argument for putting in a long pin or a couple running through the wings to give it a little bit more strength, but there they are, and a couple of drops of filler needed there as well. So yeah, surprising amount to do with such an absolutely tiny airframe, and but it's, you know, it feels size-wise it's appropriate for other modern aerobatic aircraft. I like the detail on it. I like the looks of it. Bit tadpoley in looking down on the thing. If you don't, even I've got a tiny bit of see-through on the engine cowling there, which I'm not entirely happy with. So you do have to maybe put a little bit more, a couple of bits of plastic card on the inside, particularly if you don't use the supplied part, because that fits really badly in there as well. So I've got the little boss I made out of evergreen tube. As I said, having fun with it. Always love these types. have a look. They are nice builds, and I think, and the kits aren't expensive either. My eldest daughter got me this one for my birthday present this year, actually, ordering it from Hannon's and then having it sent to here, which I thought was really sweet. And as I fancied building something small and sportsy after the Hamden, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with the way it's going. I think Brengun kits do some fascinating subjects, but it's one of those where the quality of the mouldings sort of belie the potential issue with the kit, and I think that's something to be aware of. They look, and I'm sorry if there's people from Brengun, but their kits look better than they build. That's not to say I don't really love the subjects and I don't enjoy the building process, which I do with their kits. Really love the subject matter, and I love the end results. You've got good recessed panel line, fine detail, some real quality in the kit, but fit isn't great for what it is. Anyway, progressing along nicely. I'm going to have to do a load of rescribing, particularly around here, as we trundle along. So, a bit of progress on the extra. Basically, I've got it. I did a base coat using Tamiya Cockpit green because I needed something that contrasted with the grey. That gave me a chance to see what needed rework, refilling, resanding, rescribing. I then overlaid that with a medium sea grey to give me a bit more of a workable base, and then I think I went a little bit too quick and put on a coat of white. Now I left that overnight to dry, but I still think it may have had some adhesion issues. Put on the masking, and I realized I'd masked too far forward, so I did a little trim back, and when I peeled it off, it took some of the base white off with it. So I've put another coat of white on it, but I've also applied that to seal up the edges. So I really don't want any bleed through, because I'm going to be painting blue over white, and trying to recover it is going to be a bit tricky. So I've really hit everything again with another coat of white before proceeding with applying the blue. So this is sort of the next step. Actually, I'm glad I caught this because I have to mask up the tailplane. So one side of the tailplane is blue and the other side is split blue and white. So good, I just noticed this. I need to mask this up before I carry on. So that's where we are. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to turn out. Might give this a little bit longer to dry before I start putting the blue X4. It's going to be on a white background, so it'll have a little bit more pop to it. And then it should be some fun with the Decaling. So this is moving quite quick. Nice that the decal goes along that join line there, so if there is an issue, it can partly be managed with the silver decal. Yeah, I must profess a little bit of uncertainty here, but I think it will come out okay, I hope. Anyway, that's where we're at. About to mask this up. That'll give it this bit more time to dry. This is the completed Brengun Extra 300L. My views. It's a nice little aircraft, and certainly one that's well worth doing. The kit, for its small size, still has, in my mind, way too many issues. Fit, definitely, especially the gap along the underside of the fuselage there is way too big for something this small. Sprues that overlap onto the joining surfaces of the parts, and very vague fit in a number of areas, and some things that just make no sense in the way they fit. But that said, it still builds up into quite a nice little aircraft. The stripes I ended up painting on because I had serious problems with the decals. They just didn't seem to react very well or handle very well, and I certainly had problems with the decal setting solution. I tried a humble decal setting solution on these. That didn't work out all well, so I ended up masking and painting on the stripes. The only stripe decals I applied were these here. Everything else I painted on, so you can see the silver here is considerably bigger than it should be. That said, I'm reasonably happy with how it's turned out. I had some finger issues, I had some issues with staining the white, but that said, it's gone reasonably okay. Cockpit under the nice big canopy is quite clear and builds up quite nicely, though you really do need to add seat belts onto this. Pitot tube isn't in the kit and really needs to be added. That's just from a bit of pin. And if you look on a lot of photographs, there is a whip aerial for the radio, and that was just made from a toothbrush bristle. The propeller spinner assembly is a bit of a nightmare to get straight and fits absolutely appallingly, so this one is not quite central, and the boss fitting in here, that part had to be made scratch made, because the part that comes with the kit is, in my mind, pretty much unfittable. So despite its low parts count, despite its small size, I would not call this a good model for a new model, and not by any stretch of the imagination. There's just too much you need to do on this. There's vagueness in the instructions. There's statement about the silver around the cockpit frame, but it isn't shown anywhere else apart from in the painting guide and on one view of that, but I included it anyway. If you can get past those things, you've got a nice little build here of a sports aircraft, and I think it's certainly worth the effort. I think, yeah, you could probably build this in one weekend and have a perfectly nice little build out of it. It just does have some issues. I'm not the fastest of builders, and I should have built this faster. And then I did, but it was still certainly worth the effort, and it was nice after the Hamden build to do something, by my standards, relatively quick, simple and cheerful. How does it fit with other sports types? So this is Lin 50, built last year, and I think certainly it sits quite well with other aircraft of the sports and aerobatic genre. So if you like this kind of aircraft, definitely get and build this kit. But don't expect too easy a ride out of it, because you certainly won't get that. It seems to have a lot of headaches in a small package. So that's the extra 300L. I think it looks quite nice. You guys may well have better luck with it than I do. It's available through Hannon's. Worthwhile, I think, getting the photo etch set for it. But do be aware you're going to have some significant fit and gap issues with this kit. despite that, well worth it, and there's some nice decal and marking options for it out there. Maybe worthwhile looking for some aftermarket decals. Yeah, I'd build this again if I could find some Red Bull decals for this. It would be nice doing it in that scheme. Oh, it's an aircraft type that I love. An aircraft built purely for the purposes of flight, not for transporting anybody, for attacking anyone, or anything else like that. It's an aerobatics aircraft. It's about going up there and touching the face of God. I absolutely adore aircraft like this. So, thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. This is Chancellor North Wales signing out until the next build.